Welcome to Lizards of the Toast. And we have a mono red goblins deck here for Pauper, which you don't see much in the metagame, I see. But I think this one's pretty good because we've been scooping some turn 4 wins with it, which is not too shabby in Pauper. So, Koldatha Rebirth was banned in Pauper. This is unfortunate. It was banned before we got into the game. Well, not before we got into the game of Magic, before we got into Pauper. However, I think this kind of does a thing like that. It's kind of like that a little bit. So let's get right into this. We have Foundry Street Denizen as a 1-drop here. Whenever another red creature enters the battlefield under your control, Foundry Street Denizen gets a massive +1/+0. But that's pretty good. That can be pretty good. We can get that. We can get that about 2, 3, +3/+0 is pretty doable. 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. Now we have the Goblin Blast Runner. And honestly, sometimes I think maybe 2 more of these would be better, but there's only 2 of them in here. But Goblin Blast Runner gets +2/+0 and has Menace as long as you sacrifice a permanent this turn. So you get a 3/2. Now, it doesn't like stack. It's not like you can sacrifice a bunch and get a bigger. You just get +2/+0, but we're sacrificing stuff in here, so oftentimes it is a 3/2 for 1. It is. So it's like another card we have in here. So Goblin Bushwhacker is just like the best goblin in the world. People say, oh, I think the best goblin is the Goblin Guide. I say no. I say you're wrong, Tony. Because Goblin Guide, yeah, it's a 2/2 for 1 with haste. That's good. It can give us a peek at the top of our opponent's libraries, but it can also give them a land, which is its downfall. But this is better, because when a Goblin Bushwhacker enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain haste until end of turn. Now, why is that relevant? In a deck like this, where we're creating a token, very relevant. So this is going to enable huge damage turn 3. And just to give a haste enabler is wonderful. So we have 4 of those, of course. And 4. We have the Goblin Sledder. That thing is sledding down rocks on its face. Does anybody notice that? We'll get a closer look. Get in there. Look at that. Man. So the goblin sledding on another goblin. Look at that foot in the goblin's face and that big goblin foot right there. Ugh, so gross. So gross. All right, we have 2 of these. Sacrifice a goblin. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So that is like an outlet for sacrificing. Sacrifice a goblin. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So a little better than +1/+0. So these are going to be triggering off with our blast runner here. And we have the Mog Raider. Did we go over that? No, we talked about the Sledder. Okay, so sack a goblin. Target creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. 4 of these. So we like those. The Goblin Sledder, it's okay, but it's sideboarded. It can one of those cards that gets sideboarded. We have a 1-drop of a Skirk Prospector. Sacrifice a goblin, add 1 to the mana pool. So this is for turn 3 hijinks, or turn 2 hijinks mostly. And we can get a lot of things out. We can deal heavy damage. Very, very good. Now, just a 1 of those, though, because it can be very redundant, as anybody who plays Skirk in Modern will know. And Skirk doesn't see much Modern play anymore, except on the fringes. We've tried it. I've exhausted my resources with Skirk Prospector in Modern. But it definitely has a place, I think, in Pauper. We can tap this and sack a goblin. All goblins get +2/+0 until end of turn. It's pretty good. Again, it's a good sack outlet for us, and we are just running 2 of those. We have the Goblin Instigator. When the Instigator enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. 1, 2, 3. And yeah, that's pretty good. It's 2 bodies for the price of 2 bodies, really. But in any case, it's gonna trigger some things for us. We're gonna have some things entering the battlefield. We have the Mog Flunkies, a great card here. Can't attack or block alone. However, look at their little heads. Look at that little tiny head. It's like That's where the brain is, inside of there. A little tiny brain. Um, hmm. Anyways, it's a 3/3. A lot of times we can make it like a 5/3. Um, so yeah, we are running 4 of those because that's value. This is a little bit of a mid-rangier goblin deck. We have the Mog War Marshal, and like I said, honestly, I think this could run 4 of these. So we may tweak this a little bit. Maybe add a couple here and take out a couple of those. And if we do, we'll update it. So yeah, again, just follow in the description below and you can clearly see that it'll take you to Moxfield where you can look at the deck, and any updates made to the deck will be there. But mostly we try not to update too much after we do it. But I think a couple that we just couldn't get the playset of, and we thought, hey, we'll do this a little different. So far, so good, but something I'd like to try. I digress. So, Mog War Marshal. This Echo 1 in a red. At the beginning of your upkeep, if this came under your control since the beginning of your last upkeep, sacrifice it unless you pay its Echo cost. When Wogmore Marshal, Wogmore, when the Wogmore Marshal enters the battlefield or dies, put a 1/1 red goblin creature token onto the battlefield. So we're going to get its entrant trigger. We're going to get 2 goblins. And then when it dies, like if we sack it that turn, we'll get another entrant trigger of a goblin. So very good. And again, I think it could warrant 2 more of those in there. So if I was to change this, in which I think we're probably going to maybe try that. I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but I would have 4 of these. I would remove the 2 goblin sledders. And I would probably add 2 goblin blast runners. Maybe 1, but probably 2. And that's probably the direction we'd be going in. So let's get back to those lightning bolts. All right. So we can't have a goblin deck without lightning bolts, right? Wait, can we? Yes, of course we can. But we do. We have lightning bolts in here. Lightning bolt deals 3 damage to target creature or player. You guys ever hear of this card? It's pretty good. We have 4 of them. So here's where the deck really starts to shine, as it were. Goblin War Strike deals damage equal to the number of goblins you control to target player. So we're going to have 3 to 5 goblins out by turn 3 or 4. Goblin War Strike dealing that. That's why you have 3 of these. Honestly, I'd probably cut down to 2 maybe. And maybe sideboard one. Just to make space for one of those goblins I was telling you about. The Blast Runner. So, we have Goblin Grenade. Of course we do, because this is where this turns into like a beat 'em down, burn 'em in the face deck. Look at that. Look at that miscut. Freddy miscut. That's a miscut. Am I right? Is that a miscut? That's that's a miscut. All right. Anyways, we have Goblin Grenade. Sack for Goblin. Deals 5 damage to 1 target. And I'll show you something in the sideboard that's kind of fun too. So, we have Krenko's Command. This is going to give us some more fodder, as it were. Creates 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. We have 1, 2 of those, and we would have 4 of these. We haven't got our retro framed ones yet for the deck, but we have 2 dragon fodders in there until we do. They're pretty much the same. So 4 of those, and that's basically a nice entrant trigger for the Foundry Street. All right, there we go. New sleeves moving around there. They haven't gotten good. They haven't even aged after like 7 games. All right, so the mana base, 17 mountains. They called it Murder Mountain. There's the 17. Now let's talk about the sideboard. All right. Okay, we have a Tormod's Crypt. We have 1, 2 Tormod's Crypt. Sacrifice the Crypt. Exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Bye. All right, and we have 2 Ginger Brutes because it has haste. That's good. Can't be blocked this turn except by creatures with haste. Okay. And pay 2 and tap. Sacrifice Ginger Brute. You gain 3 life. That's what we want there against burn. Very important. Just keep the Gobbo King alive. And me, I'm the Goblin King. We have one in this deck, and this sometimes finds its way into the main deck. Tectonic Hazard deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. We wish it was an instant. All right, now 4 Elemental Blasts. There's another one hiding there. 4 of these for blue problems, big and small. We have Torch the Tower. Deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If this spell is bargained, instead it deals 3 damage to that permanent and you scry 1. Now to bargain this, you may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment, or token. We have tokens. As he casts his spell, we're generally not going to be doing that. It's just going to be 2. This is something just going to hit sneaky snackers with this. 1, 2 for the sneaky snackers. Here we have Electrickery. There are better cards than this, but this is an instant. Okay, like I said of the Tectonic Blast, right? Or Tectonic Hazard. Like I said of Tectonic Hazard, okay? That is a sorcery. It'd be a lot better if it was an instant. However, we can use this in a similar manner, but for 1 more mana. It just takes that little bit of patience. So we have 2 of those. We have Smash to Smithereens. And I think probably 1 more will find its way into here. And we will probably take out Cast into the Fire for another Smash to Smithereens. Maybe not. You know what? A month from now, maybe this will be just like this. But I imagine there'll be a couple small changes. Already as we're moving along. What we really want to do now is get some of these games filmed. But first I want to get those gold fishing videos up. And we're going to do that fast. I think we're going to do... we might even do a few matchups and put those up in the Pauper Fight Club just to put something there. So that's it. It's not the most interesting deck. Pretty cheap if you take out some of the key cards, being those sideboard cards. So like, let's see here. Right here, you're looking at a good $20 if you don't already have a bunch of these. I was lucky I had... I'm trying to think. I think I had like 6 of them. So we were able to get them around there a little bit where they need to be. There we go. Let's see here. Okay, that looks good. So, yeah. I'd say you can go ahead and sideboard like this. Right here. Another Tormod's Crypt. So, yeah, let's say remove these from the sideboard. That'll cut down the cost of this deck by, like I said, like $25 pretty much. And if you're going to buy them from one place and get a play set, unless you have an LGS by you, you're going to be probably paying a little bit more than like $17 for a play set of those. But let's say we take those out. Where are you? All right. We got our Tormod's Crypt there. Pop that in there. Pop those in here. Now, what is this? This was the sideboard card I was mentioning when I was showing the Goblin Grenade. So when this Arsonist dies, you may have it deal 1 damage to target creature or player. That doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have this be the target of Goblin Grenade, it's going to deal 6 damage. So that's really good. The 6 damage is very good. So yeah, you could run those in there, and again, those Arsonists, you could probably like swap those out. Let's see here. Honestly, maybe a couple of Goblin Sledders and one other thing. And yeah, I think it's not a bad sideboard card. Depending on what you're coming up against, I think like the deck's pretty straightforward, and you just kind of want to do a little damage. And if you're finding the sneaky snackers being a problem, just put that Torch the Tower in there. And you're not going to really have to bargain it too much. So that's it. Oh, 14 minutes. We're out of here. Peace.